Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August 10th regular board meeting. Just as an announcement before we start, Diane Alley will join us via Zoom. She is out of town. And Dan, who's going to join us via Zoom, flight was delayed,
Yeah, right.
so he joins us tonight. But if everybody could please stand for the pledge. So we will get our meeting started tonight with a presentation from Dr. Egan on our 21-22 instruction.
Okay, just give me a minute to transition over there, and I'll be right with you.
Dr. Egan, before you begin, just a reminder to everyone that tonight's meeting is being recorded.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and happy August 10th. Hard to believe we're about a little more than halfway through the summer. It's been kind of a tradition here in Kings Park that before the start of school, we've talked a little publicly about what we're looking to accomplish for the coming school year, and we've always kind of called it the instructional initiative presentation. We decided to move that up a little bit in light of a couple of questions that we had received recently. So here we go. This is our instructional initiative for the 21-22 school year, where we will be supporting the whole child through equity because all individuals have different needs. We want all children to return to school in September, feeling welcome, feeling safe, feeling connected, and feeling supported by their school. Again, the approach that we're going to take is a whole child approach and geared towards each individual child. If you had followed the Common Core rollout years ago, this is almost on the opposite end of things than the Common Core, which is a little bit more prescriptive. We're looking to ensure that we meet the needs of every child. So what is a whole child initiative? What does that mean? Well, the whole child initiative has actually been around for decades. It was initially coined by ASCD. If you're not familiar with ASCD, it's the Association of Supervision and Curriculum Development. It's made up of well over 100,000 educators and administrators around the country. And the approach, which again is probably a decade or two old, is a transition from a focus that is narrow and defined on academic achievement, which was a little bit more in the way of where Common Core had taken us, and back to one that promotes long-term development and focus on the whole child for all children, understanding that each child is a little different, a little unique, and is going to need different levels of support. And I can tell you from 15 plus years of being involved with ASCD and being a past president of New York State ASCD and a past president of Long Island ASCD, the Whole Child Initiative is a great way to go for students in general. Again, making sure that we look at each child as a unique individual with unique needs and looking to support that student as best we can. So if we then look at the word equity in that instructional focus for the coming year, so how does that fit into this model? And the equity focus is again ensuring that all children are going to get what they need. There's a fairly well-known author and professional developer here on Long Island, Judy Dodge, and Judy had a saying, fair is not equal, but rather fair is getting what you need. Again, taking a holistic approach to education so we can better pinpoint specific supports that each child might need in order to be successful. And I included the little graphic at the bottom. You know, sometimes the late summer, the early fall is apple picking season, and we might want to go apple picking with our family. We want to make sure that everybody can pick apples, and you know, dad might be a little taller than mom, might be a little taller than one of our children. We want to make sure everybody can be successful when they go out apple picking, and you wouldn't give each individual the same size stool. You'd want your child to have either a longer pole or a longer, higher stool so that they can be successful at apple picking. So apple picking might be a little abstract. If we get a little bit more concrete in equity and action in schools, and we consider what's called the RTI model, the response to intervention model. That model has been around for probably about a decade, and it's a tiered support system for students, where tier 1 is the green tier at the bottom, and some supports that all students will receive, typically in the classroom. There's targeted assistance, and this could apply to behavior or academic assistance that some students might need that's additional. And then last but not least, some intensive support for some high-risk students in that red category. So the elephant in the room then becomes, you know, some questions that we've received recently that might have stemmed from some things that were printed in op-eds and papers and things of that nature that we fielded from the community involving what is called critical race theory. We're not unique in Kings Park to fielding those questions recently. If you ask educators and superintendents and board members in other districts, we've all received similar questions. And the goal tonight is to be absolutely transparent in terms of where we are, what we're doing, and what we anticipate moving forward. Now, I can tell you as I begin my 26th year in public education this September, until recently, critical race theory had never come to my attention. Through my doctorate program, through Hofstra, it wasn't until recently where questions started to come up that I actually had to do some research into, you know, what is this thing that members of my community might be a little concerned about. Again, it had not come across my desk until very recently, but something I wanted to learn a little bit more about so I could educate myself and then be completely transparent with the community about where we are. So did a little bit of research. I did find that there's a great deal of confusion over this term, RCT, and what it means and how it might apply to schools, if at all. I found in my research that our CRT has actually been around for about 40 years, considers racism as embedded in legal and political policies. Originated somewhere in the late 70s and early 80s, not to date myself, but I was probably in elementary school at that time. And it's really considered a lens or a framework through which race is used to evaluate situations. So if I was doing a doctorate, and dissertations typically include a framework in it, a theoretical framework, and I was studying something that had to do with race, I might use critical race theory as the lens through which to conduct my study. A little bit more of an academia type concept. It's not a program, it's not a training, it's not a curriculum, it's not synonymous with culturally responsive sustaining education, although I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a minute. And it's also not synonymous with DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a minute too. So to be absolutely clear, the Kings Park Central School District in the past or currently is not researching, training, or implementing a CRT of any kind in our schools, nor do we have any intention in the short-term or long-term future. So if we look at the Board of Regents, which is a little bit of a abstract concept. So we have a 5-member Board of Education here. Some districts have 7 or 9 members. 7 is actually probably the most common, 5 is a little smaller, 9 is large. The Board of Regents is a 17-member board which oversees educational policy for the state of New York. Our regent, our local regent is Roger Tillis. I believe he's serving in his 3rd 5-year term on the Board of Regents. And again, what they will do is they will develop policy and regulation and various documents for districts to use as they choose. Some districts are obviously very different than other districts, and districts will choose pieces of those things to implement as they see fit in their unique district. So as you might anticipate, with over 700 school districts in New York State, and each district being a little different, each district is going to connect with various Board of Regents initiatives a little different. And what I'm not going to try to do tonight is to give an overview of where I think the Board of Regents is going with any of this. If you would like a more detailed analysis of any of these items from the Board of Regents, I encourage you to reach out to Roger Tillis. What I am going to do is I'm going to describe the pieces that I believe connect with the work that we want to do here, which is going to connect with where I started the meeting in terms of our instructional goal for the coming year. So if we look at DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's not new. It's a concept that has been at the state level for a couple of years now. And it's going to focus on empowering all students to visualize future success and attain a sense of belonging and self-worth. Again, those are the pieces that we believe directly connect with what we're looking to accomplish here in Kings Park. And when I looked through some DEI materials, I came to find this nifty little, I don't know what to call it, a word, gotta be a word term for that. But there are 11 important words that are going to connect with the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement, and I thought that this really helped to frame what I think is important and what school district thinks is important in order to move our work forward. So if we just look at DEI first, diversity, all students are different. We know that. Every kid is unique. Probably nobody knows your child better than you do. And we want to make sure that we best support the unique needs of each individual student, understanding that differences will be very wide. There's a whole bunch of differences up there. I'll take a moment to just focus on a good example and an area that I learned personally this past spring, which is family structure. So if you look in Kings Park, you will find every form of family structure that is possible, I believe. You will find typical families. You'll find blended families. You'll find one single parent mom family. You'll find one single parent dad family. You'll find 2 dad families. You'll find 2 mom families. We have pretty much everything here in Kings Park. I learned personally this past spring, we had a family where there is no dad. Mom had been artificially inseminated at some point, and as you might anticipate, Father's Day was a day for this particular family that brought about some emotions. And we might not have done the greatest job in and around Father's Day on the elementary level with crafts and things like that we would typically do with children. And the parent called me, and she had a really good point. We had a really good conversation. But that's diversity, and that's making sure that all families and all children and all moms and dads feel comfortable and supported, and making sure that those girls from that family get what they need to be successful. And it was just a little bird walk I wanted to take on from
Dr. Egan, when you say that though, right, it doesn't mean taking away from other children and their experiences, supporting all children in their experiences in their own particular situation.
Exactly, exactly. So if we look at equity, I had talked a little bit about that earlier, and I'll go into a little bit more detail towards the end. Just guaranteeing fair treatment, access, opportunity, ensuring again that all children get what they need to be successful. Hard to argue with that. And then inclusion, the whole concept of inclusion, which has been super important in the special ed world for years and years and years, probably a decade or two. We can probably all remember, maybe not us, but maybe a generation before us, when severely disabled children were in a different wing of the school, or maybe in a different school altogether. And over time, we came to understand that inclusion, and including all students in access to all activities, is the way to go. Similar on our English language learners and immersing them in the English language in typical classrooms, as opposed to having standalone classrooms for their students off on the side, and making sure that all students have access. If we move on to another couple of important words, again, access and opportunity. We embrace that, and I'll give you two examples. There's Unified Basketball and Challenger Soccer are two programs that we run in Kings Park. The Unified Basketball team is a basketball team for special needs and typical students, and they play basketball together, and we participate in a league every spring, but making sure that even our disabled students have access and opportunity to play basketball and interact with typical children, which is very important. Innovation, pretty straightforward. We want to build all students' confidence. We want students to trust us. We want students to feel safe, which is also an important part of trust. Tolerance is good, but respect is better. Treating all individuals with understanding and kindness. Caring, and obviously relationship building. Forming bonds with each other, forming bonds with our staff. Some important words that I think we can all agree on definitions, and that we could get behind that and support that. So if we then look at some DEI policy recommendations from the Board of Regents, again, just pulling out what I think connects with us and the work that we want to do in terms of fostering support and inclusivity, culturally responsive teaching and the learning environment, promoting family and community engagement. I know few communities that embrace that like Kings Park. Even our audience tonight and seeing the community come out to learn a little bit more about that is important. Showcasing a diverse workforce. Now, that's going to apply to districts and even age and grade levels and subject levels a little different. So one example is if you look at our male-female elementary ratio. Certainly we would want more male elementary teachers if they were out there and we could hire them. That would be important. If you look at science, showcasing women in STEM, there's a whole local organization focused on that and ensuring that we have female math and science teachers that are going to connect with our students. We have one of the very few female physics teachers out there who's doing a fantastic job for us at the high school. It was a great addition, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. But looking at That's how diversity in the workforce kind of connects with us here in Kings Park and what we're looking to try to accomplish, making sure that students have the role models needed to be successful and the support that they need to be successful. If we then move over and talk a little bit about culturally responsive, sustaining educational framework, and again, at the bottom, please note this isn't new. It's probably about 4 years old in New York. It's actually been around since probably the mid-90s, and it's embedded within DEI, so they're kind of connected. It's student-centered. We want schools to be student-centered. It's going to focus on students' cultural identities, their values, their beliefs, fostering positive academic outcomes for all of our kids. We want to get them to the finish line. We want to get them to graduation and then beyond. We want to develop an acceptance of differences and hopefully a respect of differences, empowering students to be creative change agents, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit more in a minute, and promoting critical thinking. So in trying to anticipate what questions I might get on various slides, positive social change, what are we looking to accomplish there? Maybe that would be scary for some. So, what do we mean about social change? We want to improve the lives of individuals and communities. We want our students, when they're in school and when they graduate, to have a firm belief that they can improve themselves, they can improve locally, they can improve on the state level, but they can be change agents for good. And we want them to feel empowered to do this work, which is why the board and I really focused on student voice these last couple years. And social change agents embrace civic service and volunteerism. And if you look at Kings Park and what we've done over the years historically and what we continue to do, we embrace service, we embrace volunteerism, things like the giving table, the sharing table that we had in Kings Park earlier this year, helping each other. If somebody needs assistance somewhere in this community, somebody's going to come out and a group is going to come out. We're going to raise money. We're going to collect food, whatever that individual needs. And we really embrace that here. And we hit a home run when it comes to social change and trying to empower our students. So it brings us back to what our instructional initiative is for the coming year. We spent a tremendous amount of time trying to focus what it is we're looking to accomplish, so that not only could the board and I have a clear picture of that, but so that we could clearly communicate to our community what we're looking to accomplish, knowing that there are some concerns out there and some things floating around. So we wanted to put this presentation to be absolutely clear in terms of what we believe connects with us in state initiatives and what we're looking to do. And it really boils down to this page. We want to support every child, knowing that every child is a little different. We don't want to just focus on academic outcomes and scores. We want to look at the whole child. We want every child to feel safe, welcome, connected, and supported in school. So ultimately they can be successful and then go out in the world and do great things moving forward. And I wanted to end with one graphic that I think is pretty telling and one graphic that I think is slightly humorous, but also particularly telling. So, if we had 3 children of different sizes and a disabled child, you wouldn't throw them all a bicycle and say, good luck with that. What you might do is try to fine-tune which child gets which bike, with the one on the left getting, one that is much more appropriate for them to enjoy that bike ride, and size-wise, making sure that we get the right bike on the right student. And then one of my personal favorites, in case your vision is slightly worse or slightly better than mine, it says, for a fair selection, everyone has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. And my favorite is the goldfish. Good luck with that. Monkey, probably good climber. My son's a good fan of elephants. You know, but clearly, equal is not always what we're shooting for. It's equity that's important. And with that in mind, that's my presentation. I thank the board for the opportunity to present this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Egan. Appreciate your thoroughness there in trying to address some issues, as you said, that are out there in the community, in the news, trying to get ahead of some of the questions that people might have. I think one of the other important things to note is equity and opportunity. Those things, they change as well. What one student might need today might be different than that same student might need in the future. And so one of the things that we try and do, and clearly our staff tries to do, is to see those changes and monitor them so that we can continually evolve in terms of what each student is provided with. I guess, Dr. Egan, one question I would have, maybe, along the lines of trying to think about what might be on people's minds is, so you covered a lot there, and there's this framework that's out there. I think as you touched on, there's a lot of these things or things that we've been doing already. Is there anything new, really, that we're looking to adopt that we haven't been doing before because of what's in this framework, or is it just continuing to fine-tune initiatives and programs that we've had in place?
So great question. Thanks, Mr. Bianco. Conceptually, it's not different. What I think makes this focus very timely is, and if I was smart, I would have brought it with me, but I'll explain it. I think it'll make sense. The last 2 years, we focused on mental health. This year is going to be critical, not only in mental health, but also making sure that all students are where they need to be and where they should be academically. And if you haven't seen my backpack shtick, I walk around the first couple of days of school, and sometimes during the school year wearing a backpack, and on the back of the backpack there are 8, soon to be 9, what are called adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And the idea is that we have kids coming in school. They have things in their backpack that we can't see and we might not know about, but it's our job as educators to best address those needs as best we can. And the 9th ACE that I added on the bottom for the coming year is COVID-19. Knowing that each child is in a slightly different place. Mental health is going to be a big support and a big focus for us for the coming year. I think the board and the community know we added significantly to staffing in that area. So is it anything substantially new? No. Are we just trying to focus it and make sure that our staff are focused and aware of students as they come back to school, and making sure that we renew our commitment to the whole child? That's really important.
Thank you. Anybody else on the board have any questions or comments on Dr. Egan's presentation?
Just a comment. I think when you broke it down, Dr. Egan, showing the words respect, getting to the whole list, but we've been teaching that for years. So I just think sometimes in education, it's the same theory with different words. And I've been in education for 26 years, and I'm seeing different words, but it's the same practice that we have with children. So thank you for clearing that up.
And I'd just like to mention that in all 3 cases, whether it's parenting, teaching, which I used to do, and coaching, they're equal. Same thing.
Mr. Chair.
This
might even-
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't sound like it is.
Someone else pronounce it. In fairness, permits a child, student or athlete to maximize one's full potential, and that's what we're going to education for you.
Diane, did you have anything?
I'm sorry, Joe.
Did you have any comments or questions for Dr. Egan?
I really just want to reiterate what Kevin said, that, you know, it's so important that we remember that, as you said, very valuable, as we brought up, education is so important that we recognize students for who they are, and what they're capable of, what their needs are, who show need to be treated individually. And I think that, as has been said, this is something that we've done for a while, and certainly will be focusing more on in the future, especially when children come back to school with whatever issues they're coming back to school with through COVID. We have to make sure that we address their emotional and academic needs.
Yeah, no, great points. And, you know, we don't need to go through, we've all had experiences as parents or otherwise with the district or other places where you've seen that, and you've seen your kids or friends of yours and their kids hopefully have these opportunities and access and get what they need and move forward. I know that I have in our family, in our lives, and so we strive to do that for everyone as we move forward, especially in this critical time. So, absent anything, we will continue moving forward. We'll move to our first public comment section. This is public comments for agenda items only. The Board of Education will hear public comments that address voting items on tonight's agenda only at this time. Speakers must state, we'll come back to this, state their full name and address and job title as a Kings Park Central School District employee to the district clerk, and then address their comments to the board. Comments by any individual may not exceed 3 minutes. A visible timer will be used to monitor this time limit. The public comment sections of this meeting will not exceed 30 minutes in total. In fairness to all speakers who exceed the 3-minute limit and do not finish when asked will be asked to wrap up. Due to confidentiality concerns, the board does not permit speakers to raise issues concerning a specific student or a specific personnel matter. Such concerns should be presented to the superintendent after the board meeting. The one slight adjustment to that, based on some feedback from our last meeting, you can feel free to state your full name and address if you have comments. We understand as it's recorded, people are a little bit hesitant sometimes to do that. So we just ask that you state whether or not you're a Kings Park Central School District resident or employee. And there's a pad up at the podium if you prefer to just write down your name and address as opposed to speaking. So do we have any comments on agenda items at this time?
What are the specific agenda items?
The agenda was posted.
To our website.
Would you go to the post up there? Because I do have comments, but I don't know if they apply to the agenda. Where you say it.
So that
Say what the agenda item.
we have minutes, we have employment contracts, we have personnel schedules, we have disposals of equipment, we have new vendors, additional contracts, CSE meeting minutes, and scope services.
Is this your first time at a board meeting?
Physically, yes.
And one,
Okay, so
and a
it's the same
flyer.
format, I'm just trying to let you know it's the same format.
Right.
So that's,
Okay.
okay. Anyone with comments on agenda items? So we would ask you to please use the podium.
Hi, my name is Seth Kane. I'm a resident here from Spartanburg. My child is a student here. I just have a comment about one of Dr. Egan's choice of words. When he compared students with special needs to a typical student, I find that very offensive as someone who has special needs her entire life, especially when the speech was about being equal and individual and everyone treated
Thank you, but
equally. So I find that
I'm
very
sorry.
offensive. And I understand that everyone has buzzwords.
Excuse me, but I just have to interrupt you for a moment. And we will let her talk, but according to our board meeting, Mr. Bianco just said This is regarding agenda items. So we have another public comment at the end. So we're
Okay,
keeping
so I
to
can
our
come
board
back. You
meeting.
want me to come back at the end?
You can just,
So I'll make a,
Mr. Bianco.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion for the board to grant an exception in this case. You're up at the podium, let her finish, and count this again towards the public comments at the end. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please.
Thank you.
We wanted to address that so that we're clear. We had some issues at the last meeting, making sure we're following our own policy.
Oh, I
But-
understand
but-
what you're
but-
saying.
But please continue.
No, I understand everyone's trying to be PC, and I know this is a hot topic. I was just offended by the word typical, because everyone is an individual, whether you have a disability or don't have a disability. And I know, like myself, I was labeled stupid until I reached high school, which then I decided I wasn't stupid. I was an individual, actually graduated in 3 years, I became a registered nurse, and I've been working at Sloan Kettering. So, I think we have to be very careful on how we label students, because the student is labeled a certain way, that is where they think their potential is gonna lie. But when a student is given unlimited potential, unlimited resources, and not labeled as disabled, non-disabled, typical, non-typical, I think that is a disservice to the student. And I know you were just trying to, between the basketball team and the soccer team, I totally understand, I get it. It's the society we live in, but I was just offended by the choice of words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
Can I just say something? Thank you for taking the time to tell us that. I didn't get your name, I'm sorry. Beth. Beth, I just want to tell you, I don't know you personally, but I was a patient at Sloan, and I understand the training you go through. So thank you for being who you are, doing your best, because you may have helped me along the way. Thank you.
Yep, well, and thank you, Ms. Sainin. It's better to address those types of things up front, and as you said, I think clearly it was the focus of what Dr. Egan was presenting, but words are important, and so we appreciate your comments. So any other public comments on agenda items at this time? Okay, so we will move on to our next item, which is approval of minutes of the July 13th, 2021 organizational and regular meetings. I'll make a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is the approval of employment contract with transportation supervisor. Dr. Egan?
Okay, our current transportation supervisor, Mr. Steve Lee, his last day is August 12th with us. He's retiring. Our new transportation supervisor will take the reins on August 13th. Carrie Herner. Whoops, sorry about that.
Time's up.
And these are Carrie's terms and conditions of employment with us for the 21-22 school year as the transportation supervisor.
Great. Any questions from the board? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Education approves the attached employment contract with Carolyn Herner, Transportation Supervisor, and gives the Board President authorization to sign the contract. And you'll notice that I'm not usually in this seat, so I'm going to be looking at Mrs. Capabianco throughout the process here to lean on, so bear with me if I do. Moving on to our next item, personnel schedule number 2, Dr. Craig.
Good evening. Just a few highlights of the personnel schedule this evening. For our instructional staff, you see we have the appointment of several part-time employees. in the area of family consumer science, phys ed, and then we also are adding additional math and ELA support at the middle school and high school. In addition, you'll see the appointment of per diem subs for the 21-22 school year. On page 3, you'll see we have a change in assignment. This is for our summer support programs. These were a change in hours to properly support the implementation of that program, which ends on this Friday. And then for our non-instructional staff, we do have the retirement of Arthur Jones. Artie is one of our longtime maintenance mechanics. He'll be retiring at the end of October. So we certainly wish Artie well. We'll have a chance to recognize him at our retirement recognition night later in the school year. And then also the appointment of 2 additional night custodians, Michael Thompson and Garrett Jenkins, night custodians at RGO, and 2 additional school bus drivers, which are much needed, Mr. Michael Murthy and Anthony Perez, and congratulations to those gentlemen as well. And that's the personnel schedule for this evening.
Great, thank you, Dr. Craig. Any questions from the board? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like to, I see Mrs. Solos here with us tonight. I'm not sure, I can't see if any of the other appointments are here tonight. Just congratulate everyone on the personnel schedule. Moving on to our next item, new business voting for finance, the disposal of equipment. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
As per district policy, all disposals must be approved by the board. Moving on to the acceptance of recommendation to add verified new vendors to the approved district vendor list. As per district policy, all vendors must be approved by the board before any payment can be made. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Education accepts the recommendation to add verified new vendors to the approved district vendor list per the attached documentation. Next is pupil personnel. Dr. Colby-Riddy.
Good evening. The contracts presented this evening will provide for programming and support services for students within the Kings Park Central School District.
Great. I'll make a motion to authorize, for authorization to sign contracts with service providers for the 2021-2022 school year.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby gives the board president permission to sign the attached contracts with the following service providers for the 2021-2022 school year as listed below. Acceptance of CSE meeting recommendations. Dr. Colby-Riddy.
Thank you. Included are minutes from 21 Committee on Special Education meetings that were held between the dates of January 21st through July 26th.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the attached individualized educational programs, IEPs. On to the superintendent, authorization to approve agreements with Scope Education Services for the New York State Universal Pre-Kindergarten Program, UPK. Dr. Egan.
Okay, back in April, when the district received its final aid run from the state, we were both somewhat surprised and excited that there was money from the state for 51 UPK slots for the coming school year. In May, we issued a request for proposals from agencies that might want to collaborate with the school district in offering UPK. We received 3 inquiries and 2 proposals, and I'm recommending this evening that the board give permission for me to finalize the agreement with Scope Educational Services, which is located right in Smithtown. Scope has been providing UPK for probably 15 or 16 years now. They're very, very well established in the field. Many local area districts already use scope for this purpose. We're looking at 3 classes, 2 at Parkview, 1 at Fort Salonga. There'll be 18 students apiece.
So Dr. Egan, they will be running the program, it'll be in our building.
Correct, correct.
Any questions from the board? It's great that we've been able to turn this around so quickly and get this program up and running, which we had more for the demand that we had, but I would make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the school district wishes to enter into an agreement with Scope Education Services for the provision of a universal pre-kindergarten program and a preschool kindergarten program, and whereas the school district's application to the state of New York for the provision of a universal pre-kindergarten program has been approved for up to 51 students, and whereas Scope Education Services has requested a license to utilize certain classrooms in the school district for the purpose of operating the universal pre-kindergarten program and the preschool program, and whereas the school district has space available for the operation of both programs, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the operation of the universal pre-kindergarten program, preschool program, and license for the use of school district facilities to operate the same, and be it further resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent of schools to enter into and execute written agreements with Scope Education Services for A, the provision of a universal pre-kindergarten program in accordance with the approval of same by the state of New York, B, the provision of a preschool program, and C, the use of certain classrooms in the school district, all subject to review and approval of said written agreements by legal counsel for the school district. Next is authorization to add organizations to the flyer distribution list for the 2021-2022 school year. As per district policy, all flyers must be approved by the board before email distribution. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the organizations listed below receive approval of the Board of Education to be included in email distribution of flyers in the school district for the 2021-2022 school year Scouts BSA. We now move on to special reports and announcements from the superintendent. Dr. Egan.
All right, hello again. Couple of highlights. We, believe it or not, we're in the process of finishing up our facilities work this summer. I hope the community has enjoyed. We've done 4 written updates, probably be 1 more before the end of the summer. We've done some door projects this summer. We did the RJO gym, which came out beautiful. If you saw those pictures last week in the gym at RJO, we got rid of that. I don't even know what to call the color of those green walls. Maybe seafoam. They're white now. The gym looks great. New bleachers in there, so that was a big upgrade. And we did the 1958 bathrooms over at San Remo. Got a facelift this summer with windows over at San Remo to follow later this fall. I'm just going to be excited when I have more than 1 window in my office that you can actually see out into the back of the parking lot. Those windows are pretty bad, and that'll be a nice upgrade, especially when we have little leaguers playing baseball and softball in the spring back there. I had a pretty neat opportunity last Friday. We had the class of 71 up here celebrating their 50th reunion. That was pretty cool. They reached out to me over the summer and they wanted a tour of the high school. So what was neat for me is that most of the current high school didn't exist in 1971, and I actually learned a tremendous amount from them. So that was pretty cool. We showed them the auditorium was here, but obviously this room has been completely updated. The library and the second story of the library media center. They wanted to see the old shop rooms and home ec rooms, and it was just it was probably spent about an hour with them on Friday, and then they were off to go have fun with their fellow class of 71 members. So if you follow us on Twitter or Facebook, there's a couple pictures up there, but it was great to be able to spend some time with them. We are in the process of finalizing an energy performance contract. COVID had kind of stalled our project up at SED. It's in the final stages of approval, and what's neat about that project is it should finally bring solar to Kings Park. So many of our buildings will be getting solar upgrades, and there are also 4 upgraded boilers, which are essentially our heating systems for the high school and San Remo in that project as well. So again, I'm really hopeful that by the end of the coming school year, we'll have functional solar panels on most of our schools. That'll help save us money moving forward. I've had a couple of inquiries related to vaccinations. So I just wanted to give a little bit of information to the board and the community. A couple of parents have called me about student vaccinations. Would we be requiring it? Would we not be requiring it for COVID? The long and short of it is that's education law and not subject to school district option. So I do not anticipate that law will change anytime soon. So student vaccinations, right now if you're 12 or older, is completely up to parents. So don't worry about that. If you have concerns along those lines. On the employee side, believe it or not, I've received a couple of phone calls from community residents. Will we be requiring our employees to be vaccinated? Will we not be requiring? The governor had made a statement that schools should require their employees to be vaccinated. I have a legal opinion from our legal team that says I cannot unilaterally do that. So at least for the time being, that will continue to be our employees' choice as well, because we can't require them to do that. We did reach out to our union presidents if that was something that they would want to consider, but we have not heard back as of yet. I know at this point we're all eagerly awaiting the final guidance in order to reopen the school. What a difference a week makes. Last week was, the year has been, ups and downs and information from the state and locally. As recently as last Tuesday, a week from today, the State Department of Health was still indicating that written guidance for schools would be released within the week. We know that didn't happen. We know ultimately Dr. Zucker from the New York State Department of Health issued a 2-sentence statement. The Suffolk County Department of Health did release some information to school districts that was in our email boxes this morning, which superintendents and districts are now taking a look at, with some clarifications that still need to be made in a couple of areas from the Suffolk County Department of Health. And in addition, we got some information that the State Education Department may be releasing something that we're going to want to take a look at. And with the departure of the governor from Albany, somewhat in the not too distant future, there may be more information coming from the Department of Health. We don't know at this point. We just ask that parents be patient with us while we sort through what we have received, and we'll make sure to communicate as soon as decisions are made. We're probably looking at the last meeting in August to be able to wrap up as many loose ends as we can. 2 weeks from now, we do have a scheduled board meeting on August 24th, and I would like to make a very detailed presentation for the board that evening on what the district plans are, so that we can have some discussion that night. But again, unfortunately, I know there's many of us that are eagerly awaiting final decisions on certain things. We are still in the process, as are most, if not all, of our surrounding districts, looking for some clarifications on a couple of items, and we'll make sure to communicate our plans with you as soon as they're finalized. And that's my report.
Great, thank you, Dr. Egan. Appreciate that. Any comments from the board at this time?
Of course. First off, Kings Park Chamber of Commerce is having its end of summer barbecue at Shanahan's on August 27th, and in advance of the next meeting, 5 o'clock. Please attend if you can. But it was nice to see both musical moments, okay, at the Russell Sabat Park. I believe they have a performance this week, and Mondays on Main Street. So just things that are good about Kings Park. I do have one thank you, special thank you, and this is to my person right next to me here, Dr. Colby Rooney. And I just want to thank her for her continued diligence and care that she shows all of our students through the pupil personnel department. So thank you again, as always. Finally, when I was driving here tonight, got a little difficult as I conjured up memories of 40 of my former students and athletes who have passed way before their time. 4 in the last year and a half. The oldest was 45 years old. And every year when I finished school, I would always tell my students that until we meet again, because the goodbyes were meant for when somebody left this world. So I just want to say to those former students who passed, goodbye, and I still miss them greatly. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Diane or Pam?
Mine is just a message, as you talked about the 50th reunion. That was, our family started here in 1970, finished 1971, and my daughter will be the last of our name to go through Kings Park School as of now. So it's been 50 years of memories for us. And I gave a great tour, and they really enjoyed it. So thank you.
I was just trying to do the math and figure out how close I'm getting and think it's not that close, but we're getting there. Sure.
So I forgot one last important thing, seeing Kevin Dennis and Dave Hobart over there. If it's not already on your calendar, Saturday 9/11, there will be a commemorative, the 20th commemoration and a memorial march in Kings Park. We have a couple of different items planned that's in the works. Number one, if you didn't already hear about it, there are 2 wonderful members of the community that are accepting donations for flags. And the flags are going to be installed right in the front of Kings Park High School along 25A. As of this morning, they had 240 donations for flags. So it will, in fact, be a field of flags, which was our goal. They'll be spaced 5 feet apart in front of the high school, and then a little bit farther apart as you get closer to the town of Smithtown driveway, just past the JV baseball field. But the plan is, over, and it's not just a program for now, but it will extend into the future. So if you see the flags and you're like, wow, that looks cool, but I missed the opportunity to sponsor one, you can still do that, and we'll get them installed at some point in the future. At RJO, on the corner, there's a 9/11 memorial with a plaque with 7 names on it for 7 Kings Parkers that lost their life on 9/11. And that memorial is getting a little bit of a refresh from an Eagle Scout candidate from Troop 539. The plan is that we're going to march from the high school at 11 o'clock on 9/11. It's not a parade, it's a memorial march, and it will feel like a memorial march. We have the Sunrisers band that'll be joining us as well. And we'll probably I believe there are plans to sing a beautiful song at the high school, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll march down to RJO, and we have a couple of important presentations. We're going to read the names of the fallen from both Nassau and Suffolk counties, and it's a great opportunity for us as a community to not only never forget 9/11, but also get together as a family, much the way we did right after 9/11 back in 2001, where we came together in the days and weeks following 9/11. So if you're able and you want to come out on 9/11 and march, or even just meet us down at RJO, it'd be great to see you come out.
And not only all that, it's a moment to teach as well as we think back, and my youngest will be going off to college and she wasn't born yet on 9/11. So as you said, to have the community come together in the way that it did after 9/11, they didn't see that. It'll be an opportunity for them to not only see, but be a part of it. So it should be a special day here. These are available as well. So there's t-shirts. This is also a fundraiser.
Stop by Professors, Kevin Dennis is right over here, and take about 6 or 7 of them home.
I got the photo up right, I covered myself up. Okay. Better photo that way.
Mr. Bianco, if I just might add just one little thing here, okay, that the proceeds from these flags are going to the VFW in town, as well as the Stephen Butler Scholarship Fund. Stephen was a member of the class of 1982, FBNY. What year, I'm sorry? I'm sorry, Tommy, Stephen still with us? I'm sorry, Tommy Butler, thank you. Class of 82, if I'm not mistaken, okay, so please try to help out. Thank you. And I believe we have Serena Foley-Barbright in the crowd also, and please go to her, okay? She's in charge of this whole thing. Serena, you're here, right? There you are, thank you.
Great. Diane, did you have anything? Okay, if not.
I just think that September 11th is a wonderful tribute, a wonderful tribute for memorial to the firefighters that passed away, and it is just so like Kings Park to come up with this tribute to them, and I want to thank the women who put this together and started it. So.
Great, thank you, Diane. So with that, we will move on to our second public comment section, public comments for the time remaining from the original 30 minutes. As I indicated before, the Board of Education will hear additional public comments. Speakers must state their full name and address and job title if a Kings Park Central School District employee, or alternatively state which one you are and write the information down on the pad at the podium. That will be provided to the district clerk at the end of the meeting and address their comments to the board. Comments by any individual may not exceed 3 minutes. A visible timer will be used to monitor this time limit. The public comment sections of the meetings will not exceed 30 minutes in total. In fairness to all speakers who exceed the 3-minute limit and do not finish when asked, will be asked to wrap up. Due to confidentiality concerns, the board does not permit speakers to raise issues concerning a specific student or a specific personnel matter. Such concerns should be presented to the superintendent after the board meeting. In addition, please note that the board will take no action at tonight's meeting. So we will open the floor for public comments.
Good evening. Douglas Serrato, 24 Old Dock Road, Kings Park, 11754. To the Kings Park Board of Education, Dr. Egan, good evening. As I just said, my name is Douglas Serrato. I'm a father, a husband, and a business owner here in the community. My wife and our 2 children have lived in Kings Park for the last 8 years. 9 years ago, we lost our first child. I am here tonight to tell you I take the safety of my children extremely seriously. And if wrapping them in plastic would protect them, I would be the first one to do it. More importantly, I am here tonight to demand that mask wearing be 100% optional within the community. I am not anti-mask. I wore a mask when appropriate, and I am fully vaccinated. I am a constitutionalist. I believe in liberty, personal liberty. You do not impede on my right to do what's best for my child. I parent my children. You do not. I decide what they eat, what they wear, what they watch on television. I decide. A Board of Education functions exactly like a corporation. In fact, the New York State School Board Association refers to Dr. Egan's role as CEO. A corporation has one responsibility: to do what's best for the shareholders. The shareholders own this corporation, not the Department of Health, not the teachers union, or any other entity. For the last 17 months, this board has stood behind mandates from the state, guidance from the Department of Health, and the teachers union. Luckily, the state has left the decision to mask wearing to each individual district. There is no mandate to follow the Department of Health, only a suggestion. Dr. Egan, on June 22nd, you stated that you were aware that the majority of the parents want mask wearing to be optional, but your hands were tied by mandates. They are no longer tied, sir. You also state that you have the ability to pivot based on new information as it comes in. We are providing you the information that you need, not the Department of Health. We believe there are non-shareholders of this board that are influencing your decision-making. We have an incoming faculty in the high school who's at an executive level who is posting all over social media that, quote, a face mask is not a Star of David or a pink triangle, you whiny privileged dolt. This incoming faculty member has no voice to this board. They are not a resident. I will wrap up now. In closing, as a community, we are prepared to do whatever it takes. We are the sole decision makers for the children, not you. We have been organizing and forming ourselves of the workings of local government, and we will utilize all tools to our disposal, including placing candidates to the board that will listen to their constituents and implement our will. You must not set the precedent that you rule over us. You must realize that we place you here to enact our will. So I ask you tonight, I am done. I ask you tonight, will you say publicly that you will do what the constituents want and not the Department of Health? That's the answer I need. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrara.
Good evening, Kings Park community. My name is Sarah Slotnick. My address is 53 Boxwood Drive, Kings Park, New York. I am an alumni of Kings Park High School, class of 2013. I'm coming to this meeting tonight with no script, but just to voice some concerns as a community member as well as an educator. I have been teaching at the high school level. I taught last year during the COVID-19 pandemic. I have taught during the hybrid teaching. I have been on the front lines like many of us have. I'm coming here as a very concerned community member. The reason why we were able to keep schools open last year is because of the mask protocol. Instead of saying no, can we just listen? I
Folks,
here.
it's public, she's entitled to her time, as
Thank you.
Mr. Serrato was. Please, let's have respect and just listen. We can agree to disagree. Let her speak. You have your time if you want to speak.
Thank you. As a person living in this town, I have every right to be here as much as you all do. So all I'm doing is conveying my concerns in a very respectful way. I think that we all want schools to stay open, correct? Yes. So I think that safety is critical and paramount, and especially with the Delta variant and the Delta Plus.
Folks, we spent a portion of tonight's program talking about respect. Let's respect one another. If you want to make comments, you'll have your turn.
Thank you. We don't know what the fall is going to look like. We do not know what the 2021 to 2022 school year is going to look like. I am talking out of safety. I want to stay alive. I think you all want to stay alive. I think that your children all want to stay alive. And no one asked me to come. No one has asked me to do this. I came on my own volition because I care. And I think that as stakeholders, as parents, community members, Board of Education members, teachers, we all care. So I am just voicing my concerns as a community member that safety is paramount. And I know that this is a very contentious topic, but I just am here to remind you that literally the only reason why schools were able to be open last year is because of the steps that school districts took to keep your children safe. I see people nodding, shaking their heads, going, you're entitled to your opinions, just as I am entitled to mine. Thank you very much for your time.
Joe, can I say something?
Thank you, Mrs. Slotnick.
If I can just interrupt public comments. If I could just interrupt one thing before public comments continue. We make up Kings Park. We may not disagree and agree with each other, and that's okay. But we have children sitting in this audience, and we have to be the role models to show respect and dignity for everyone, whether you agree or disagree with them. That's what we're, yes, I'm serious.
Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Lisa Seabury, and I'm very nervous. And I'm standing here before you tonight as a parent who is very concerned about the lack of integrity and respect for the parents of the Kings Park Central School District. As you very well know, a few weeks ago, I brought up a question pertaining to curriculum to this board. And I was completely humiliated when you literally, it's on camera, laughed in my face and embarrassed me in front of all my peers, pretending that you did not know what I was holding up. So after some deliberation over my daughter's taco head assignment, which pitted children of different cultures against each other, incited divisiveness, and taught my daughter and her 10-year-old class a racial slur, sickening enough to be compared with the N-word. So I think the embarrassment now is the other way around. I think it is embarrassing that you and a principal admitted that you'd never heard of this word before. You weren't sure about what was in this piece. Yet it went down the pipeline and it was pushed into our schools. So I found out that the source of this assignment came from BOCES. And what I have learned is that BOCES seems to promote this type of behavior and does not focus on equality. And BOCES has a lot of similarities to CRS. And since Kings Park follows BOCES, is this the direction that our schools are headed in? Dr. Egan, you emailed me personally and didn't CC the board. You took it upon yourself to ask me in an email how I leaned regarding this type of curriculum. Well, my answer to you is simple. I lean towards a non-divisive, intellectually challenging program to all students equally. And your definition of equity is very different than the BOCES definition of equity, I'll have you know. And by the way, I also stand here tonight as a Jewish woman. My great-grandmother is a Holocaust survivor. 7 of my family members were burned alive. They were on Schindler's List. Dr. Egan, you once told me that you were very troubled when someone referred to you as a Nazi. Well, I am concerned that there is a staff member on public social media who has not once but twice mocked the Holocaust with her political agenda for masks. And we, the parents of Kings Park, are frightened by this and we will not tolerate it. So I implore you to not be an enemy, but to create a better line of honest communication and intentions for our children. Do you have any answers for the direction of BOCES, please?
I don't even know how to answer that question, but if you would call me tomorrow.
If I wanted a phone call, I would call you.
Because you don't want to actually talk to me. We've had very good conversations, and I would encourage you to continue that.
In our conversation, Dr. Egan, you told me that sometimes parents pick up on things that kids do not. So in these assignments, which I found many more of aside from the taco head.
Thank you, Mrs. Seabury. Thank you.
Folks, it's this is as we talked about. This is our board meeting with a public comment section. It is not meant for a discussion and a back and forth. Dr. Egan is very open. Dr. Egan is very open. His door is open. His phone is open. His email is open, and he responds to everyone. And to have a fuller conversation is more appropriate in that circumstance than at a board meeting. And that's what we have tried to do throughout our board meeting process. Right? That's why comments are 30 minutes and 3 minutes each, so that everybody gets a chance to get up and have an opportunity to speak about what they would like to. So we'll move on to our next speaker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. What I'd like to go over tonight is mask mandates in school.
Can I just ask you, before you start, to at least state whether you're a resident or an employee of the district?
Yes, I do. I'm a resident of Kings Park.
Okay. He doesn't. Okay. If before you leave, you can fill out the pad if you don't want to say it on the.
Yes, no problem.
Thank you.
I'd like to go over mask mandates tonight. As you probably know, cases are going up every day. In the U.S., averaging over 108,000 cases a day, where in June there were 16,000 cases a day. It's not just in our state, it's in every state. As closer and closer we're getting to the start of the school year, we have to protect our kids. Most parents don't think that it affects the kids, but in Florida, 20 kids are in the ICU right now. 10 of them on ventilators. The positivity rate is 20.5 under 12. 24.3 from 12 to 19. In Louisiana, 16,000 cases in one day. 20% of them are kids. 6,000 kids in 1 week. 13 children are hospitalized, 4 in the ICU, 3 months old. New Orleans, 18 are hospitalized, 6 are in the ICU, 1 is dead. New Jersey, 13 kids are in the hospital, 2 in the ICU. Virginia, there's a 17-year-old girl that passed away, not vaccinated. Right now,
folks, again, excuse me, sir. You deserve, as everybody does, you deserve your time unabated by others' comments. If you would like to get up and make comments, you can do that. But give him the decency of his time. Okay, otherwise we won't do this.
Right now, children hospitalized tripled the first half of July. There's 94,000 children last week tested positive for COVID under the age of 18. 1,600 children are hospitalized for COVID. Children hospitalization rate is 3.75 times higher than last month. Schools haven't even opened yet. And if we do this without no mask, social distance, or hand washing, God only knows what will happen. American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC are recommending masks in schools. New Jersey and Connecticut already have it for September, as you know. As you can see, William T. Rogers program, 2 classes, 2 teachers, 5 students this summer. They went virtual because it went from person to person. There is no mask this summer. We have to keep politics out of our schools. School boards have a hard decision to make, and you have to stand up to politics and loud voices and do the right thing by my kids and for all kids. The Delta variant is more contagious. Remember, 12 years old and younger cannot get vaccinated. Both my kids can. When parents say they have kids that have the right not to wear masks, or because it's child abuse, or it's hurting our kids, my child and every other child has the right to stay in school. Stay in school safe, socialize, and not do virtual learning because it's not good for them. Is the board going to mask our kids and keep them safe, even from COVID, from flu, from viral infections, cold, everything? Or is the board going to let our kids go with no mask except from kid to kid, teacher to kid, or family members? We shouldn't be selfish. We should keep with what works. Last year, it worked. We masked, we social distanced, we hand washed, and it's there. My kid said to me last day of school that I picked him up. I was only out 1 week this year. I was only out 1 week because of quarantine. I was not sick.
If we
I
can,
know
just if we can, sir, as we did with others, please just wrap up.
Okay, yep. Following mask mandates, schools should follow the same. I spoke to a parent today. He has no clue what's going on. They're not even checking their emails or anything else. I want to say thank you to the board for working so hard and what you're doing in these hard times. And thank you for mainly the teachers, because the kids love the teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. If you can, fill that out before you leave, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Kandari.
Folks, we have speakers, and we have a process to follow. All right, we're in public comments, and we have.
My name is Cheryl Kandari. I'm a Kings Park resident. I'll fill out your list later. I'm alumni of 1984 from this school district. And our family is a family of homeschoolers now within this school district. The reason I'm speaking today is that I wish to come together with this community and echo what others have said to make this mask optional within the school district and address equality curriculum. These issues are very concerning to us, as well as others in the community, and need to be addressed immediately. I urge positive and trustful enforcement of the 2 items involved. These 2 areas of concern are reasons we homeschool our child right now. As well, for these same reasons, many others express concern of not wanting to place their children back into the school district this coming year and beyond. Many families have chosen to move due to this, and others are contemplating the same course of action. Approximately 20 students equals 1 job in a school district. The job is either kept or lost due to decisions made. Keep in mind, a public school district is a business. If customers are not kept happy, funds are not there and business dies. Look around at local towns, for example. I will name a few that have been in business or have had local locations for many years that are no longer in business. Comac is an example where many of us patronize. Macy's, Pep Boys, and New York Sports Club, all gone. Don't think schools are insulated from these types of closings. For years now, in this as well as other districts, school buildings have closed and have not come back. Depending on what happens in the next few weeks, There may be parents seeking homeschooling as an option. I'm there for them with information, assistance, and resources. Again, approximately 20 students equals 1 job. Will this district keep the job or lose the job? There is a choice. What do you, as the Board of Education, choose? Thank you.
Sir.
Hi, my name's Bill Collision. I'm a resident Kings Park, Aspen Road. Quick comment and then 3 quick questions. All you concerned, send your kids to school with a mask. All you that are okay with it, send them without a mask. People with the mask will be protected. Question 1, we talked about equity in education, level playing field. What does that do to the advanced students? Do they still get advanced learning to excel? Or are they held down to a level playing field? Question 2, you're against critical race theory now and extended as was stated. If a mandate comes down from above, are you going to capitulate or fight it? Okay. And then the last one, you just passed the vote on all your vendors. I have no idea who your vendors are. I'm assuming all your vendors are not related to any employees or serve extended or near in reference to individual vendors being applied correctly. That's it, done.
My name is Dolores Oconda. I live on Ruffin Road. I've been here for 43 years and paid a lot of taxes. And just so you know, we're a community, we live in this community, and we pay you to do what we like. We know what's best for our children, we know what's best for our lives. If we don't remember, we have the right to life, liberty, and to pursue happiness. And never forget that. That's our culture. So the first topic I want to talk about is the face mask, okay? A study, face masks exposes children to harmful carbon dioxide. January, I only wore a mask for like 1 hour a day, just running outdoors. My carbon dioxide went up above normal, okay? So that's the first one. The second one is a German study proves the harmful effects of masks, okay? And basically it says this, increases carbon dioxide when wearing a mask, right? And that's the result. Headaches in 6 of the 10 studies, temperature rise, impaired breathing, which I also experienced, found in 7 out of the 10 of the related ammonia associated with wearing masks, okay? Internal medical problems, okay? The other one is parents. This is a good one. My kids live in Florida. Parents sent their kids' face masks to a lab, analyzed. Here's what they found. 11 detected 11 alarming dangerous pathogens of the mask: pneumonia, tuberculosis, meningitis, I can't pronounce that one, meningitis bloodstream infection, resistant to antibiotics, causes Lyme disease, and get another one. Half the masks were contaminated with 1 or more strains of pneumonia-causing bacteria. And I could go on and on. This is my point, right? Another one, masks, these doctors were censored because they came out with the truth. And they said here, masks don't control viruses, they control you. The pandemic is over. Rand Paul said last week, and he was taken off of YouTube, because he said there was no pandemic. You want to know what a pandemic is? A pandemic is this. Smallpox. 30% of the population dies. The Black Plague. As soon as you get it, 3 days you're gone. This was not a pandemic to instill fear in us. That's what it was. We know how to wash. We know how to take care of our children. I haven't had a cold in 7 years. I eat, I walk around, I spray myself when I get out of the store with rubbing alcohol. And that's basically it. I wash myself and I don't wear a mask, okay? 45 million Americans have have died from the COVID-19 jab. And more, they believe, okay? This one's another one. This one is heartbreaking. A woman took the jab, a younger woman, had children, with a picture of her. Afterwards, she came down with the virus after taking it, right? They had to amputate her legs and 2 of her hands. She felt chest pains, run to the hospital, diagnosed
If
doctor.
we can, just ask you to wrap up, please.
Okay, Claudia.
I appreciate it, but that is not how it works, okay? You have 3 minutes. You don't get
Okay.
we don't cede time to each other.
So even the CDC, a mask didn't show COVID spread, new study. 74% of people infected in Massachusetts.
We understand you probably have a lot
Okay.
more articles, if you just please could wrap up.
If you want to know about critical race theory, I have plenty of information. It's called Marxism. That's what I over $200,000 I put into this. I will take 1 more minute, if you don't mind. This is the United States of America, free speech. And if you want to give me just 3 minutes, I object to that.
You can object, but those are our rules, ma'am, okay?
You know what? I used to come here with 5 minutes. Now it's 3 minutes.
It's been 3 minutes
Anyway,
for a
thank
long
you for your
time.
time. If you
can-
want to know about what I just said, I'll give you the information so you can make the correct decision.
We just ask you to fill out the paper, please. I don't know which one of you is next.
Hi, I'm Tom Richardson. I'm 53.
Tom, before you start, we have the 2 of you who are coming up on our 30 minutes, so we'll take the last 2 speakers, okay, that were down here. But please.
My name is Tom Richardson. I've been a lifelong resident for 53 years. I went to school here. I listened to Dr. Egan's presentation. Personally, I wish he'd just stick to educating the kids and let the parents stick to the I got a question on that critical race theory. Would this be an opinion of critical race theory? If a teacher told their students that law enforcement is part of their problem, part of the problem in this country, and after the George Floyd thing, that they should go on the BLM website and educate themselves, would that be part of critical race teaching?
They do that.
They do that. Would you, if your teachers were doing that, would that be allowed? Dr. Egan?
If you can make whatever statements you'd like, sir.
No, I'm just saying, if that was a true statement, would that be allowed?
We're not having question and answer right now, sir. If you'd like to make a statement, you have 3 minutes to do so. I would encourage you to continue.
In one of my kids' classes, their teacher told them that law enforcement is part of the problem in this country, that they should educate themselves and go into BLM. And they said that we have a lot of law enforcement families in this. And I know for a fact there was law enforcement people in this. So again, I wish you would just stick to educating and let the parents decide all the diversity and stuff. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. If you guys can be quick, then.
Hi, my name is Kathy Feldman. So I'm a teacher of 15 years. I've seen the CRS for multiple years, working in districts, not working in districts. I have seen the diminishing of competition and students pushing themselves to be the best of the best because everyone has to be the same. In addition to that, the only reason I came up here today is to read something that my 9-year-old wrote.
that really upsets me being in this district. When we had to wear the mask, my teacher made me feel bad when I wanted to take a break to get water. My teacher was very strict about the mask wearing. It got dirty every day. After a few months, it started to get hard to breathe. Now, I'm very sad because my mom's considering homeschooling me because of this. And we say that we're here for the kids. We're not here for the kids.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lisa Langebeck. I have two beautiful boys that go to this school district. And to piggyback off what you just said, Kathy, I just want to let you know, my son did take down his mask because he said he couldn't breathe, and he was told by a teacher that he was selfish for wanting to breathe. I ironed that out. Don't worry, I ironed it out, but I just wanted to let you know. So as far as those wearing masks in here, I don't know if you know, but if you read the side of the box, it says it right on there, does not prohibit the spread of COVID-19. It says it on the box. I worked as a microbiologist for a decade. The only time I ever wore a mask was when I was in a class 7 clean room. It was to prevent my hair and my skin and my bacteria from contaminating samples. It wasn't to keep me safe. And I worked with dangerous stuff every day, all day. I never got sick. I'm here tonight for like 5 reasons, but the past 2 Board of Ed meetings, the board and Dr. E all said, if it was left up to us, we'd make it optional. We'd make mask wearing optional. So why are we now, you said we're waiting on guidance from the state. You've got guidance from the state says do your own thing, and then you're like, well, we need more guidance. Why do we need more guidance? You said you would make it optional, so do what you said, make it optional. If she wants to wear 3 masks, she can, and if I want to wear none, I won't. As far as the masks, I mean, there's cases of hypoxia where kids are deprived of oxygen. I know someone whose son threw up in his mask and then was sent home with the same dirty mask. There's hypercapnia, which is elevated levels of CO2 in the blood. That's a problem. And we talk about, diversity and inclusion, educating the whole child, and how it should be tailored to each child because every child is different. Well, my kid's different. He doesn't want to wear it anymore. He's anxious, and all summer he's upset. He's counting down the days every day he wakes up because he knows it's 24 more days till he has to wear a mask again. And magic, we see everybody running around the community, and I was out at Kings Park, in Kings Park last night, at Monday on Main, and I didn't see anybody wearing masks, and I saw some people walk in here without a mask and then put it on, and so it just doesn't work. And all I'm saying is, that's what America is. If you want to wear it, you're fine. And if my kid doesn't, fine. And that other gentleman that was here, it says it on the side of your mask box too.
Touched
it 19 times, sorry, 19 times.
Excuse me, ma'am, it's public. If you'd like to speak, ma'am, and then Mr. Pago, and then...
My name is Lori. My daughter's going...
All right, please, ma'am.
My name's Lori, and my daughter's going into her senior year. She's a young lady who's always loved to go to school. She's an athlete. She's on the travel teams outside of school, and she was playing for her school teams. Did very well in school, loved to be a leader, and help people, help other children in the class that needed help. I can go on, but it's not about my child, it's about all of our children. And it saddens me to see us so divided over this past year. And when I say divided, I mean as a community, as a country, and this is global now. This is different than anything any of us have ever experienced. I don't care how old you are now. It could be 100. I know that at the end of the day, everyone in this room wants the same thing. whether we are mask wearers, whether we voted for Trump, whether we voted for Biden, whether we don't want to wear masks, whether we want the vaccination, whether we don't want the vaccination. We love our children. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. I want going forward the best for my health, so I make my own decisions for my health. I want what's best for my child and my children's health. I make the decision for my children's health. But I know everybody in this room, including the board, wants what's best for their families and themselves. And that's where we're in this situation now globally and community. This is just a community, but we can really roar. We can really, if every community fought together to accept each other's opinions, maybe we'll both learn from each other. There's so much animosity and division because we're judging, our kids are judging each other. They shouldn't be judging each other. They should be having fun, learning, talking about college, playing their sports. They shouldn't be judging their classmates as to whether they wear a mask or don't wear a mask, or are they vaccinated or are they not vaccinated. I just hope, I pray that we all can join together and come together as a community, because it starts here. Now, I know I might go over my time, but I'm a respiratory therapist, so this is not coming from some place that I worked COVID unit. And thank you. I was probably one of the only, you're welcome, it's my job. But really, I was one of the only people, if not, I think I worked more than anybody in my facility. I worked the COVID unit, and I did not get sick. I found out my daughter had been exposed, but we never knew it. It was her annual physical, and she had the antibodies. Wonderful. That's natural immunity. And really, that's the best prevention there, actually. But what I do want to say with regards, because I could talk all night, with regards to the masks and the plexiglass that you have up in the classrooms, it's done a terrible injustice. I can only speak for my daughter. And I know you were trying to do the best, because I spoke with Dr. Lessler on several occasions. I know you were trying your best to follow the guidelines, which were not always consistent. They were crazy. They were confusing. Everyone's got to stop watching the news. But really, I thank you for trying, but please take into consideration when you find out what they're going to do, the harm it's done. Your name, Bianca?
Yes.
This is a perfect example. When you first started speaking before, I didn't know who was speaking. If you didn't move your hand, I didn't know it was you speaking. And I said, my God, my daughter has to go to school like that. And this is not good.
Understood.
So, all right, I thank you for listening, and God bless everybody.
Lori, if you can try your hand in the back. And look, I don't, as we wait for Mr. Bagel, I don't need to do this. I really, I thought long and hard about this. You've seen me at other meetings. Last meeting, I did not wear a mask. I have to take my daughter to college on Monday. So if this makes a difference with me being able to travel and not have to worry about being infected, if it's any layer of additional protection, I'm here wearing a mask tonight. That's my choice. Mr. Bagel.
My name is Donald Pago. I live at 29 Columbus Avenue in Kings Park, of course. I'm not going to talk about masks, okay? I'm going to talk about some safety potential situation. On 9/11, we're going to have a nice march, and I hope a lot of people turn out. I hope families turn out, bring kids along, veterans, and we have a nice march from the school all the way down over to our jail. What's interesting to me is that if hopefully you're going to arrange it so that, hey, everybody can park the cars up at the parking lot, march down. How do we get back? Can you get buses to get us back? Because, I mean, there's some of us that can barely make it from one end to the other, and you want us to get back?
We got that one covered, Mr. Pagel. There'll be shuttle buses. check the website or give me a call. Give me a call tomorrow, Mr. Pagel, I'll fill you in.
Okay, you have a concern. As a veteran, I definitely want to march.
Yeah, give me a call tomorrow, Mr. Pagel, I'll give you all the information.
All right, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pagel. We'd like to thank all those, this will be our last speaker.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Schaefer. I'm a mom of 3 children, 5, 6, and 8. This year was obviously a tough year for all of us. I basically want to understand what the circumstances that we're waiting for, or the guidance that we're waiting for, when we have in our power to make that decision ourselves. I don't understand why we can't have leadership in this district where we say this is what is best for our district. This is what's best for our children. This is what our parents want. We talk about social emotional. We're not talking about the social emotional issues these masks are having on our children. Suicide rates are up. We're talking about that. My children have speech therapy and they're wearing masks. They're 5, they're 6. They're wearing masks all day long. And how are they supposed to be getting better? They're not. Their speech therapist told me that they haven't improved that much this year. Why? Because they're in masks. They need to see mouths. They need to see faces, expressions. They're not getting any of that. These children are not getting the education. That's part of their education, learning that. Where's the equity? These children are different. How are we going to do what's best for my children? Because they are different than other children who can wear these masks. So that's my question. How are we deciding, why aren't you deciding what the guidance is and why are you waiting? And what are you doing for my children who can't wear a mask that are different than other children? And just one quick question. Are we waiting for the guidance of the lawyers that we have in this district that have been under investigation by the FBI? I'm really wondering why we are using those lawyers for our district. For pension fraud and other fraud.
I apologize, I didn't realize we had someone else that has been waiting as well.
Okay, so you probably all know me. I've been in this town for many, many years. Kids all graduated. Now I'm watching my grandchildren graduate. My name is Kevin Dennis. I'm the owner of Professors Cafe, Diner. Okay. I just want to show you one thing on the shirt. It's very, very important to me, okay? This shirt says we are family, okay? Whether these people are right, whether you are right, you know what? Remember one thing. These are all family, okay? So I would love you to be out there on 9/11 so everybody remembers 9/11 and remembers what we go through. For our children, for our parents, for our grandparents, but I gotta tell you one thing, it's a very, very tough decision. I see my grandchildren go every morning to school with a mask. You know what? It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had the answers and I wish they had the answers. But just remember the t-shirt. We are family, okay? Thank you. And be out there. Be out there.
That concludes our public comment portion of this evening. Before we conclude, some important dates. As Dr. Egan mentioned earlier, August 24th is our next Board of Ed meeting, 7:30 p.m. at Kings Park High School. And that is it. I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.